Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to this video. All of the highlights from the 2021 Gaydon Jaguar Rally. I'm really sorry to interrupt the video montage. A few years ago I had an XF. I always wanted it to be the R and I always wanted it to be in purple. Found my favourite car.
Behind you, you've got XK 150 1957 drophead, and then next to that is the 1961 Mark II 3.8 manual overdrive.
We're going to turn petrol into noise, okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, hey, who's started? Turn your cars off. I haven't given you the go yet. Turn them off. No. Don't ruin my moment. 10 years I've waited to do this. Ladies and gentlemen, start your engine. Right. You want to give them a rev? After 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, those around the arena, put your hands together. They've just burned about 50 quid of fuel each. Put your hands together for me.
That was fantastic.
Isn't that brilliant?
That was fantastic. this car was.
Correct. Again, the observant ones of you would have realised that number plate's not road legal either. Although, if you check the DVLA site, there is a car out there called Bad One, and I think it was a Fiat 500 last time I looked. Again, people ask us if this was the car used in the film. The answer is it was one of about 7 or 8 of them that were used. They were all fitted up with different things. Some of them had got, some of them had rockets in the doors. This one obviously has got the machine gun on the back, the rockets in the front and so on. So none of the cars were fitted with all of the tricks. We're fortunate that we actually do own 3 of these.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one. Now, this may upset 1 or 2 Jaguar people, but for the film company, in order to get the rockets and all the rest of it in the front of the car, they had to remove the Jaguar engine. And they fitted a Ford 302 V8, which went further back into the car to allow you extra space at the front. So I'm afraid that some of the cars used in the film didn't have a Jaguar V8 engine, they had a Ford V8 engine. Sorry about that, but you have to do these things. But I thought it was more than that, Tony. I thought there was about 18 cars here.
I've certainly only ever seen 7 or 8. No, I've not seen as much as 18.
They certainly consumed quite a few during the filming, and it always amazes me how frivolous they are with them, really. But this is a fabulous example, and it looks like it's got a Gatling machine gun at the back there.
Just on the engine front, this one does have a Jaguar engine, and it is a supercharged one, because obviously these rockets in the front, we've only got the tips of the rockets, we haven't got the entire rockets in, so we didn't need to use extra space in the engine bay for that. The Gatling gun, I would really like my technician, who's always far too busy with better things, I'd like him to fit it with a little motor so I can swivel left and right and stick one of these little red laser dots on it. So as people are walking around the showroom, I can pick on someone and follow them around the room. But we'll probably never have enough lots of time to do that.
He's a very strange gentleman, is Tony. He's sort of looking to shoot the spectators. Thank you, Tony. Now this is a little bit special, isn't it? We don't see this very often.
That's right. One of our volunteers this week christened this our pirate car. Which I thought was funny, because this box says I'm a strange person anyway. And the reason he's called it a pirate car is because it's an XK RR.
I told you it was a little bit funny. Basically, this is the concept car, and well, almost the very first, obviously, because of that. And as such, it is absolutely invaluable. Beautifully presented motor car, Tony.
Yeah, so it's obviously it's a supercharged XKR, but with a few extra tweaks. You can't see from where you are, but it's got a full roll cage in it, because they obviously expected some of the drivers to be a bit on the risky side. They've removed the rear seats, which actually in an XK8, I've never really thought there was any point to the rear seats, because once your child's over about 5 years old, they don't fit. So they've removed the rear seats and the harnesses are strapped in there. It's got full-blown race Recaro seats in with 4-position harnesses and so on to strap the guy down. The thing that sets this apart from virtually all the other XKs is the transmission on it. Instead of the automatic that we're all used to on our XKs, this has got a 6-speed Tremec manual transmission in it. And it's absolutely brilliant fun to drive.
I think if anybody gets the chance to look inside this, it is a little bit special. And this is how you expect a Jaguar to be. I've just been reading up the notes on this car, 180 miles an hour, and you can rest assured it will go faster than that. 0 to 60 in a phenomenal 4.6 seconds. This is some kind of car, folks. It'd be well worth actually reproducing this as a road version. As long as you looked after your license and everything else. But it really is something special. And when you think about it, We all get used to driving a modern Jaguar with automatic transmission, but nonetheless, when I'm ever driving my E-Type, I really like to swap gears. I don't know about everybody else. And to be able to do that in a car with this kind of performance, with the Dreaming 6-speed box, it must be really fantastic. I've obviously never driven this car, but what a motor car this is.
Part of my job is actually keeping as many of these cars running as we can. Obviously all 3 of these run, and a couple of months ago we took this car and a bunch of our others to the joint JEC event at Vista Heritage. And we took a number of our cars, including this around the little track there, and we gave people passenger rides in it. And I must admit, I did a few laps in it. Acceleration and braking are absolutely phenomenal. Suspension I thought was slightly softer than I would have liked. It rolled a little bit through the tight bends, but for its day it was actually brilliant, and certainly much better than the stock XK8 of the era anyway. People always want to find the first ever car, the earliest model and so on. This is the earliest XK8 in existence, so I don't care what your VIN number is, this one predates it. Those of you who are behind me can see it says the Beast on the windscreen. Right, this is almost an XK8 actually. This is a mechanical prototype number 19. The body is XK8, the panels are fiberglass, which were taken off a body styling buck that they made. It was running and driving. We haven't actually used it for a number of years, so I genuinely don't know if it works now. Believe it or not, it was used for testing. It was used for testing both the heating system and the cooling system. It went off to a place in Canada called Timmins for its cold weather testing, and so that no one knew what it was, they bolted all of this tastable fiberglass to it. Nowadays, when they camouflage cars, they tend to have this green and black tiger striping pattern on them. But this one, so that no one can see the shape, there's all sorts of bits and bobs bolted onto it, and so on. So this is the earliest XK8 in existence, mechanical prototype number 19. I would love to get it running, but my guys are too busy trying to get laser cannons working to get out of it.
It certainly is an impressive car, Tony, and I do like the fact that we've got 2 views of the car, one with the camouflage and one without, because it's interesting that I only live 3 miles from the Brown Plains site, and in the early days I used to get quite a lot of prototype cars coming past my place, and they all had hardboard on them and things like that. I remember Norman Jewis telling me on one occasion that he was testing the Mark 10, and that's a long time ago, but nonetheless they put the camouflage all over it, and he employed the Jaguar apprentices to do this. This was before the testing took place in the south of France, and he couldn't talk about it, but Norman always said that after they'd put the hardboard on the car, the Jaguar apprentices, the car looked better than when he did when he was new. Which I was amazed, but there we are, it did decide it dramatically. This is obviously a unique piece of Jaguar memorabilia, Tony, thanks for preserving it. The opposite starting exercise is on the next 304 pounds, as you can see, but the 2 doors have been taken off, 4 doors have been taken off, and proper 2-door format has been applied, and you notice the way the door has been extended. So these aren't just sort of same as a 4-door car, these are purpose-made doors. Everything about this car has been done correctly.
That's right.
We've got 3 cars in actual fact to talk about, and they're all associated with Sir William. And we're going to start off with the Series 1 XJ6. Is that the one we're going to start off with, Tony? Series 1 XJ6. Well, let's just talk about the car before we start. First introduced around 1968, and it was really Jaguar's first move into the modern era. You could say this was, and certainly Sir William considered this to be the epitome of design, really, because it was the first sort of modern Jaguar, produced in 4.2 form and also 2.8. All of the engines on the 2.8 were a little bit notorious, but there's really nothing wrong with them. The 2.8 version was produced mainly for the continental market because cars over 3 litres were taxed disproportionately. So the Jaguar said, well, we'll produce a 2.8 litre car for the continental market. Worked quite well. But these 4.2 cars are fantastic, and this is Sir William Lyons' own car.
Yeah, that's right, thanks Bob. So yes, we all lovingly call him the old man, so this is the old man's car. It's from very early on in the production. It's in a glorious colour of sable brown, which was fairly common in those days and was actually a standard British Leyland colour as well, because by that time, of course, Jaguar was owned by British Leyland. There's a few things on it that are now non-standard, because not only did he use it as his everyday car, it was still a bit of a prototype as well. And it kept going back into the factory, and when they were looking at making changes, both to the Series 1 and eventually what morphed into the Series new model, they tried out some of the changes on the car. So I do remember a conversation with one visitor to the museum who remonstrated me at length because the rear lights were not exactly the way they should have been on a Series 1, and that's because they started life like that. No, Sir William then tried out the different versions that were going on the Series 2. So the car had a sort of a life of its own, both as his daily driver, so to speak, but also as a test mule, not in the extent of the test mule you've seen this morning, but certainly a test mule for some of the other ideas of how it would evolve over the coming years.
Yeah, this is right. The XJ6, well, people don't realise that sort of these pre-production cars, you know, all sorts of things changed when they went into actual production, but yeah, for concours judges it's really great, you know, when somebody says, you know, this isn't original, and it is, you know. It gets you. Of course, this is Jaguar's first foray into certain things like low-profile tyres. Dunlop specifically designed the ER70 VR15 tyre specifically for this car, so that was great. Of course, it's also pioneered a new front suspension system for Jaguar, where the actual engine is mounted on the front suspension crossbeam. So that's an interesting thing as well, and of course it's got an even improved version of the independent rear suspension. Beautiful motor car, and really very few Series 1s exist today, so it's great to see the Series 1 XJ6 in such good condition, and of course this has got all the history with it. Beautiful car.
And as Bob said this morning, this is one of the cars that we do keep running and driving. One of the challenges of driving it is, in 1968 when these cars come out, wing mirrors or door mirrors weren't compulsory, so it hasn't got any. And I'm not going to go drilling holes in Sir William's car just so I can see where I've been or who's overtaken me. So yeah, trying to reverse it into car parking spaces can be a bit of a challenge from time to time.
Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. I do hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, underneath this video you'll find a thumbs up button. Hit that, and right next to it there's a subscribe button as well. Hit that and you'll get a new video from me every week. Coming up next are the highlights from the Retro Truck Show here at Gaydon, and also make sure you hit subscribe because I'll be bringing you a live stream from here in the September Gaydon gathering. Make sure you're around for that. Hopefully I'll see a few of you here as well. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again soon.